report on the news without fear or favor through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people.
All right, welcome back. So now let's get into the conversation proper. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is interrogating former Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, over a botched Nigeria Air project. Now, the former aviation minister was also accused of conspiracy, abuse of office, diversion of public funds, contract inflation, criminal breach of trust, and money laundering, amounting to more than 8 billion naira. Well, according to the commission, that's the EFCC now, the sum is set to be for 4 aviation contracts approved by the former minister to a company known as Ingerious Nigeria Limited, owned by his younger brother, Abubakar Sirika. Now, the EFCC had in February 2024 opened investigation into the activities of the former aviation minister's younger brother, Abubakar Sirika, who was arrested by the EFCC operatives over alleged fraudulent activities in the Ministry of Aviation. All right, so going deeper into this and helping us to make sense of it all, we have joining us virtually Chukwuma Okenwa, who is the Executive Director, Lead Network Africa. All right, good morning to you. Welcome to the conversation. Yes. So now, this is one interrogation. This is one case that Nigerians have been interested in, especially when you look at the activities of the former Minister of Aviation, how he ran the ministry. He was accused of not inaugurating a board. He was, the all in all, making decisions, doing things, especially the issue of Nigerian Air, and that aircraft that was brought in as the inaugural aircraft for Nigeria Air, which of course was later discovered to be on lease. Now, how do you feel to the fact that this is being done? Some said, oh, this will be swept under the rug. It's something that will not be done. But here we are. Less than a year into the current administration, there is a probe going on in the aviation sector. How does this make you feel, really?
I must say, I'm really excited. This is one of the best times to be Nigerian. We're like the tide. It's really fast changing because the trend has always been that, especially when a successive administration is a build-up from the previous one, when it's within the same party, then reasonably as would be expected within Nigerian context, there are no consequences. Like we know, a former APC chairman was quoted saying that once you join APC, you become a saint. But it's really interesting to know that, okay, the past administration was that of APC, and the current administration APC, and as least expected, because one would have expected maybe if it was Labour Party or PDP that took over, then when such moves are taken, it could be seen as vendetta, it could be seen as a political witch hunting, it could be seen as trying to undermine the capacity, the powers of APC. But it's interesting to know that the Tinubu-led administration, it's also APC, and we've seen a past governor currently, being traveled. We see a past minister. We even see a serving minister appointed by the current administration. So the message is very clear that gone are the days where people could do things without consequences. Like we know that when it comes to anti-graft, Nothing incentivizes corruption like people do things and they are free to walk about thereafter.
Okay. Now, some Nigerians have said this is a smokescreen. This is to give the impression that they are working. And we will hear about the concluding part. I mean, we'll hear about investigations going on, but the concluding part may not be the expected result. But anyway, let's look at Nigerian, aviation sector, the proposed Nigeria Air, and how it turned out. The activities of the minister as well. When the former minister, beg your pardon, Hadi Sirika, bought some fire trucks, Nigerians, put their voice out as to the amount with which it was used in purchasing those trucks. I think it was, if I remember vividly, it was to the tune of about 12 billion for the trucks, about 10 of them. And those trucks, if you're familiar with the airports, I have sources within the airports, those trucks basically have not been used. They were purchased and abandoned. These are things that have happened in Nigeria over time. How do you react to the fact that we have encouraged wastage in this country with activities like that? And also yesterday there was another case of an aircraft skidding off the runway, and you do recall that at some point lightings, landing lights were stolen from the runway. People were suspended, but we haven't exactly had people held responsible and being made to answer questions in that regard. Do you think all of that will come to play in this current investigation?
Okay, so what I could say, this visibly like are cases of, Nigerians trying to jeopardize the fortunes of the country, whether in the first instance that you cited, where like Sirika has to go the far, to get all of the props. Like someone that want to do movie, of course, you need the costumes, you need the props, you need to like make it look real. And he did not fail in that movie, by ensuring. But of course, it's at the expense of the taxpayers' fund. And like I said, there should be consequences. Why we've seen things like this happen over and over again. It's simply because when people are done, we see them go scot-free, no consequences, no punishment. And the beauty of the law is that at the end of the day, there should be consequences. And then when you now also talk about the case of like in a full-fledged airport of a nation, how will anybody like come in there to make away with the runway lights? I mean, it's a national embarrassment that should never be heard of. Yeah. But I can tell you safely that under normalcy, such things will not happen without some level of internal compromises. Some persons who are charged with those assignments, because I mean, there's not a time that we say, oh, maybe flights should take up just in the day or in the night. The airport doesn't function. I mean, it's a 24-hour business. It's a 24-hour station, that you always have like the aviation security and all critical stakeholders that are there welcoming people into the country. So who is going to muster the courage, who doesn't understand the terrain, to come and make away with the lights? It really calls for like serious probing, interrogation, and at the end of the day, culprits should have consequences. That should serve as a deterrent.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to come from the angle of the account of the younger brother of the former minister being frozen by the EFCC. Now, there are allegations from the EFCC that some funds were found in the account of the younger brother. Of course, misappropriation of funds from the former minister. Now, this brings about conflict of interest, which, of course, by law is very, very punishable. Now, I'm talking to the part of the judiciary. What would you be expecting at this time if this former minister is prosecuted? What would you be expecting from the judiciary at this time?
Okay, the role of the judiciary in terms of the anti-graft war,
Yes.
it cannot be over because ranging from like the speediness with which like such trials are expected, because one of the ways actually in Nigerian own case, part of the taxes we've seen is like actually delaying just eventually deny it. In the legal parlance, it is said that delay is not denial, but in Nigerian own case, and so you see like a kind of part of the interference to our criminal justice system is where you have like some level of delays. Eventually, justice is denied because you no longer hear of the enemies. We have like cases of like, some cases that are still hanging today, and many Nigerians are still anticipating to see the outcomes. So what we expect from the judiciary, three things. First, we want to see speedy trials. Second, we don't want to see like from the judiciary itself, like what we have a case like, we've even had the case of a Yabelo, trying to get like a court order to restrain and to towards the prosecution process, some of those kind of things where like justice is hijacked along the way. Judiciary should be wary of it so that it can conserve its respect as a kind of the arbiter, as the final hope for the common man and indeed for all Nigerians. And then the third thing we also want to see from the judiciary is, whatever be the case, the constitution of Nigeria must be upheld. And whatever be the case, when you have like, okay, the law enforcement agents have done their own part, now on your own, you have to ensure that you uphold the constitution, because it is within your constitutional powers to do so.
All right. Now, Mr. Chukuma, let's take it back to the aviation sector. You are a Nigerian, and I believe you must have actually noticed that most of the most of the airports you have in the country are not really the way it should be, talking about the standard of it and all that. For example, in Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, we have only one runway for takeoff and even for landing. And I think sometime early this year, an aircraft broke down there, and that actually costs, halts for everybody moving out. Now, do you think Nigerians are ready to have a Nigerian airline with the way things are going on in the aviation sector?
Okay, so I think more critical investment need to be made into that sector, and I observe that we began to see some changes. Yes, I think I've been able to travel within this current administration through the Lagos airport, and I love what is going on in one of the wings, and I think that should also be like extended all across the other wing and across the 5 major international airports. And I think also that if we're able to maintain the 5 functional ones now, there isn't anything wrong, like also trying to like create more so that virtually every region in Nigeria should have like 2 to 3 airports, that connects the nation to the international space. And with that, we can open up more of the economy. But of course, for the prospect of the Nigerian air, it shouldn't be like a priority at the moment, for the nation. What I really think, because, when we talk about Nigerian air in our own case, we'll probably be referring to like Nigerian government investing into the aviation sector. But one of the ways they can actually do that is to esteem Air Peace now at the moment as its own a kind of national carrier, right? Because like I heard about, is it the
Black
British
carrier,
Airways, that the investment of the UK government in it is 0%, but yet it brings glory. It's keeping up the UK flag, up the flying space.
Okay.
And I think we can do that with
So
like
basically,
airlines like
are you saying that since Nigeria has failed in times past to reborn Nigeria Airways, the defunct Nigeria Airways, are you saying we should not even bother anymore and just focus on aircrafts or companies that will be that will carry the flag of Nigeria and then support them internationally? Do you think that will be a whole lot better?
That should be a better way to do business.
Okay.
Like it's been proven, like it is said, that government has no business in business. Government should come up with laws and then regulate and then incentivize businesses to thrive. And if for like some great nations like UK, United States of America. They have such systems. What they just do is, okay, based on bilateral air agreements, negotiate for their companies, right? US own.
Okay, we're having glitches in the network. It's affecting
Airlines to
it's
see how they
affecting
can
the
fail. Nigeria can
output.
also, I think Nigeria can also replicate that model, right? I think Nigeria can replicate that model rather than maybe trying to create its own airline. That may not be necessary.
All right then. Now we're having glitches, so we do hope that can be rectified because we missed
Yeah.
out on some of the things that you say due to the
Okay.
glitches. But let's talk about awarding of contracts now. Now, one of the issues against the former Minister of Aviation is the fact that a contract to the tune of about 8 billion was awarded to a company owned by his brother. Now, we do know that sometimes when these contracts come up, goons of those in government, friends and families of those in government are the ones that get these contracts. What can Nigeria do differently so that that can be avoided and those that are capable of doing such contracts will be looked at and probably awarded, contracts like that?
Yeah, it may interest us to know that already there is like a provision to curtail such kind of things because we have the Bureau of Public Procurement, and
Yes.
the best practice is that such tenders should be published, on national dailies and tenders magazines, so that those that qualify can bid for it. But the interesting thing is that even when some of these contracts are awarded to relations, it end up not even being executed.
Exactly
Yeah.
the case in
That,
this
that, that
one.
even makes it worse to you. You understand? So I think the Bureau of Public Procurement need to be revitalized, right? Strengthened and all the rest to live up to its mandate, right? Because currently as it is, anybody could just do anything and
Get away with
gets
it.
away with it. But the essence of the Bureau is to even ensure that public funds is not spent without going through due process. The Bureau is not supposed to wait till maybe you're fortunate to have an administration that is ready to probe.
Exactly where I
I
was
mean,
coming to for my
yes,
next
yes.
the question I wanted to ask you next. The fact that we wait until an administration or
done.
an appointed officer leaves office before we start to prosecute, and a lot of harm would have been done. Talking about this particular topic now, one of the things that were supposed to be procured were elevators. Another was generators for airports, Abuja airports, and the rest of them. The non-procurement, none of that was done anyway. None of that was done. There was nothing done in that regard. That has caused the nation some embarrassment, if you ask me, especially knowing that these airports entertain people from outside Nigeria. And then they fly into these airports and elevators are not working, generator sets are not working. Must we wait? Must we wait until the appointed officer or the elected officer leaves office before we start to run after them? The issue of immunity now for elected officers comes to play. What can be done differently?
Yeah, I think you have two things. First and foremost, we need to, like, this makes a case for the need for strong institution, especially like in a presidential system. No presidential system like the US wouldn't have been a successful case study if the president wields so much power like Nigerian president, and then you don't have like all around like a weak institution, that cannot interrogate anything, that cannot investigate anything, except maybe like you have a nod from Mr. President, right? That's the way we function in Nigeria. I can tell you for free that why I'm really excited, we as many Nigerians are saying, well, if Tinubu want to go after Buhari, you should just go ahead and, pick him up immediately. We can all agree that none of these things that is happening, to those that served in the past administration would have been possible without the body language of the current administration, without a nod from the current administration saying, oh, fine. terms up to this. And that also, when you have like the case of a serving president, right, who has his mandate, he's made lots of promises to the people and all the rest of it. This is what we are going to do if we're elected. Then it not behooves on that particular administration to place a check. Whilst that does not happen, then two other things has to happen, right?
Okay.
So of course, like in when it comes to like anti-corruption studies, you know, I'm privileged to be the first anti-corruption diplomat from Nigeria, you know, and based on that, I want to say something which is very important with respect to that. So in terms of tackling corruption, you have the principal agent approach, which has to do with the political players, but the second approach has to do with collective action, where you talk about the institutional frameworks and then also the role of civil societies, the role of the media, the role of all relevant stakeholders in actually helping Nigerians to be awake to their responsibilities of holding governance responsible, of ensuring that the legislature play its legislative functions of serving as an oversight to the executive. Because when the executive seems to be lackadaisical and living up to its responsibility, then what then is the National Assembly or the State House of the Assembly doing? And when they are not living up to their responsibility, then there should be recourse from the people. And that's where collective action comes in.
All right. I like the fact that you did mention recall, which I might later go and ask you afterwards. But I want to talk about what presently is currently bedeviling us in the country, and which, of course, you just mentioned, it is corruption. From the past administration to this administration, whether we like it or not, they are both of the same party. Now, I'm going to be talking from the political side of it now. Where does this leave the APC in the coming election? Now, let's also note that this present administration with the Efcc chair is chasing after people and persons from the past administration, one of which is Mr. Godwin Emefiele. Another is the present past governor of Kogi State. I'm talking about Yahya Bello. Now, in the coming election, how would this play out? What would the perception of the people be after now going into the next election in 2027, particularly about the APC, which of course is the same party where this administration is prosecuted from, even though we've not heard of any in this present administration. I wouldn't say we've not heard, because there is a better edu gate, which of course the chief of staff of the president have been fingered, and the president has also come out to say, I give this guy a vote of confidence. He's done that also with the security chiefs, and insecurity is still bedeviling us as a nation. Now, all of this is still under the APC government. Where does this leave Nigerians going into 2027 election? What perception would this give Nigerians?
Honestly, it's going to endear them to generality of Nigerians. APC, by this current approach, would have regained confidence from Nigerians, because it's not going to be like the cliche that I said on Nigerian street, maybe association of past criminals, right? You know, the infamous the description of that party as that. It's not going to be like All Progressives Congress, where you have like those that, I mean, if you mean progress, then you come there into an alliance where like the party that is set for progress, irrespective of who is involved, you understand? You know, not even forgetting maybe the previous humanitarian affairs minister, who is also embattled. So this current administration has really done a lot. APC need no further political hypothesis, judging from the previous election, where it was very clear to them that narrowly as the ruling party, narrowly, they only escaped like a kind of being defeated, you know, telling you that it has gone beyond just the biggest structure, the party, the ruling party, to now like a kind of the people-driven structure. So I think it's a very smart move from the current administration to neglect like some concerns, agitation from some political quarters, those saying remember 2027, as though they quickly forgot that generality of Nigerians, the masses, the citizens, played a very critical role redefining the political landscape, and any party that is wise should be able to cash into that. If like a party that came from nowhere could leverage on the strength of the people and make a mark to the point of being announced as the third in that particular election, then that means Nigeria legal business as usual.
All right, now to you, Mr. Chikuma. Nigerians actually have this feeling, or rather, I would say they've lost trust in the government over the fact that they've decided to tag most of the work the anti-graft agencies are doing to be audio. You know, some have the opinion that you can only see the amount of money being called on and the people who are being persecuted just on the front of the front pages of the national dailies, but no one has actually been, you know, put behind bars and something like that. Now, do you think the summon for EFCC for Hadi Sirika, do you see it yielding any fruit? And also, what do you think the government needs to do now to gain their trust back as regards Nigerians?
Yeah, I think like you rightly pointed out, we want to see safe conclusions of these cases and, you know, appropriate sanctions and consequences being meted out. But I would also say something that is very significant with the way the current administration is going about it. Take, for instance, in the case of MFLA, back and forth to prison, to detention, and all the rest of it. I mean, if that has been happening, there's no critical stakeholder in the nation that want to face that after office. Just when you brought before, like even the public court of public opinion, this time around is not like the gentlemanic way, like what Obiano faced, where you just report to court and go step back. But you have like all of the dramas, you know, typically almost like giving an impression that you're a criminal, even before the court of law confirms that. I'm sure that anyone, you know, that wants to serve the nation henceforth will now be more careful, you know, because of like such kind of embarrassment. I mean, it's not dignifying for a once CBN governor of the nation to be currently embattled in the manner, you know, with which the current administration is facing it. So I think, to me, it's a plus on the anti-graft war. And then what we now want the current administration to do is to further strengthen the criminal administration system, justice system, and then let's see where it takes us to.
All right.
You know, we have to walk the talk, certainly.
Okay. Now, as we wrap this up, let me deviate a little bit. All right. It's interesting that your organization, Lead Network Africa, is backing the government in its quest to, or it's encouraging the government to put a tax on social media and what people generate from social media. Am I correct?
Not at all. Not at all. No, it's not. We never said anything like that, and we will not at all, because we are pro masses in our organization. We don't work for any government. We've never supported any administration during political period. But of course, when an administration is doing well, we commend an administration. When they're also poorly performing, we come hard on that and the administration.
All right. Well, there was an article I was reading about Lead Network urging the federal government to take advantage of social media taxation. And that was why I brought that up. But now you're saying that's not the case.
Yeah. And let me also further add, you can also check online. I mean, there was a time when the federal government wanted to gag to, shut out Twitter space, you know, from Nigeria. There are articles, there are video, like rental of interview, where we mentioned it clearly. So I would say disregard that article. Maybe the one that we speak more is where you have a video of either myself or a representative speaking to that issue. Otherwise, anybody can write anything.
All right, then. Thank you very much for clearing the air on this one.
You.
All right, we've been speaking with Chukwuma Okenwa, who is the Executive Director, Lead Network Africa. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll be looking at what's been happening within the school sector, all right, as bullying has become a theme in some of our schools right here in Nigeria. And that's been brought to the fore with the use of social media. Let's talk about bullying that happened just a few days back in a school in Abuja when we come back from, this break.
When your morning starts, make sure to look around for the right company to serve you everything you need to know about what's happening around you. That's why you need VOP this morning, because we will climb this far to give you a voice in what's going on, from news, reviews,